Peace and love. Welcome back. Or should I say, welcome forward. This is Darius A. Stanton on the Peace in the Morning Show. And are we glad to be with you? So we're going to, yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, because tonight we are coming to you live with Competitive Edge. That's right, Competitive Edge EQ. We are so excited. A special series. The special series that's going to last tonight, Monday night, the following Monday, and the Monday after that. So we're going to go all the way into June 5th. So join us every Monday night, 8 p.m. and we talk today about emotional intelligence. Why is that so important? Why are we celebrating that during Mental Health Awareness Night? Tonight, we want to make sure that you understand the difference between emotional health and mental health. We want you to understand why it is that some of our young people are making the decisions that they're making. As a matter of fact, let me turn the music off real quick and just get serious for one moment. There are so many children right now who are so stressed, depressed, anxious, even suicidal as a result of their mental health, as a result of the trauma that they've experienced, as a result of being bullied or bullying someone else. And so the question is, what can we do about it? What are we doing about it? And so we came back tonight for a special segment to address the issues of our children, our young people, our student athletes, or just students in general that are dealing with all of this social media frenzy, the bullying on social media, the high expectation. One of my coworkers' daughters broke her collarbone. She came back. The first weekend that she came back, she played in a tournament. They had 2 games. She scored 4 goals the first game and 2 goals in the second game. 6 goals out of 2 games. And you know what she told her mother? Yeah, Mom, but I really wasn't that good. My footwork was terrible. She scored 6 goals after breaking her collarbone, her return. The amount of pressure that we infuse on ourselves and that we allow social media, our parents, our peers, whatever it is that's causing the enormous amount of pressure on us as adults. So you can imagine what it's like for our young people. And so tonight, we've got some special people to deal with some issues that are addressing some solutions to what's going on. So make sure you share the show. Make sure you let people know what's going on, and you want them to know about Competitive Edge EQ and a special event that they have coming up on June 10th, 8 p.m. at the Woodmore, the Country Club of Woodmore, a casino night for those who like to roll the dice, for those who like to sip wine with Marcus Johnson and like to sit back and listen to a little jazz, for those who like to eat real good and just be around good people. And don't forget, for those who smoke cigars, there'll be cigar bar set up for you, all at Competitive Edge EQ's second annual Monte Carlo Casino Night. And now the lady who's running the show, the executive director of Competitive Edge EQ and co-founder, welcome to the Peace in the Morning Show, Mrs. Lisa Leonard.
Well, thank you so very much, Darius, for that introduction. You hit on some very important points regarding the struggle of our young people. And I would like to also couch our conversation in that what we're going to talk about this evening, it actually impacts every child. We just so happen to focus specifically on student athletes, but the same thing that we're talking about in regards to student athletes and improving their emotional disposition is equally important to all kids. But I would arguably say that it's important to everyone. Having the ability to navigate your emotions in a way that allows you to get the results that you want is critical for all of us. And so you did a really good job of that.
Well, hey, I got a great coach in Lisa Leonard. And I have another coach also, the other co-founder of Competitive Edge EQ, the husband of the team, Ladies and gentlemen, meet board member, co-founder, and true leader in his own right. Also my brother in our Lakers. You see the yellow behind. I'm not gonna get into that too tough there. Y'all come at me what you want. And if I'm doing this, it's important if I'm putting that aside, because lives over sports. I got to take that every time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome for the first time and for the next 3 weeks, Mr. Lenny Leonard. Coach, what's up, my brother?
Hey, how you doing, Darius? And thank you for the introduction. And like my wife said, the experience of student athletes, of students in general, young people, and the struggles that they're going through, specifically right after the pandemic, it's vital that we create avenues and ways for young people to be able to manage the stresses of life. And you mentioned earlier about social media and young people trying to navigate the social life, the platforms of social media, as well as just being a student, more or less a student athlete, which is where we kind of plant our feet. And it's an honor to be around and kind of share with the audience what we do and what we want to do with student athletes.
Without question. I mean, we're super excited to have you all. And I just want you to know we're going to be addressing this issue over the next 3 weeks. And we're doing that because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Tonight, we're going to talk about the difference between emotional health and mental health. But we also want people to understand, walk away with some solutions, because our children are hurting on the inside. And a lot of times they're just like us. They're going to school, they're going to work, they hanging out, but they still in pain, and we've got to address this situation now more than ever, because there's so many things that are out there. But also, to join us this evening, sitting in the wings, waiting for us to bring her on, is another. Is she also a Coppin Eagle? We got some.
She is a Coppin Eagle, baby.
Okay, Coppin Eagles jumping up and down. You know what I'm saying? A Coppin Eagle, also a 24-year veteran at the Metropolitan Police Department, MPD, for those who understand how they call it in DC. So we are very fortunate to have a former baller. Are you still balling? Well, we're going to ask her when she get on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Tisha Potts.
Again, thank you, Darius, for having us on this platform.
Did you see that coach move that she did? That coach, that signal, dog. She was so cool with it. I know I blew it, right? But I just had to speak to the coaches. I just want y'all to know what y'all working with. These are champions here. Yes, ma'am. Miss Potts, please forgive me for interrupting. You were saying?
Thank you for having us on this platform this evening. When you're speaking of coach, I am a assistant coach for the Girls United Basketball Club of Maryland 14U girls, with the head coach of being Omar Hazel and assistant coach, my husband, Derek Potts. This is our current situation. We're dealing with a group of 11 young ladies who are going through as a student athlete, but at the same time, we don't just teach that, how to be an athlete. We also try to mature the stages of their mental stability while going through the phase of school and being an athlete.
Could I just say, hey,
sure,
Darius,
I'm glad to have you. So welcome to the show. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Lisa.
Let me just say this, because it's just a shame. It's a shameless plug specifically for Tish, Derek, and Omar. And I hope that at some point within these 3 series, we have the opportunity to talk about transformational coaches versus transactional coaches, and not to peel it back too much right now. But what I do want to do is, in this moment, is commend Tish, Derek, and Omar for their commitment to being transformational coaches. And we'll learn about it a little bit more in terms of our programming, how we work with them. But it takes a special coach to be more transformational and plant their feet in that space, which can sometimes be uncomfortable, versus being transactional. So I just want to say big ups to them. That's all.
Hey, that's what it's all about here on the Peace in the Morning show. We pump people up all day long, So I'm just so glad that, we've got so many people who are committed to our young people. So let's get into it.
Sure.
First and foremost, we got a super event, and I want to pump the event because it takes resources for us to do what it is that we need to do in our community. And if we're going to invest in anything, we should be investing in our children, in our families. And that's what this is. This is a husband and wife dynamic duo, a 1 and a 2-0. Then you got another dynamic duo, 1 and a 2-0 with a 3-piece on the other part. You know what I mean? And Omar. And so, I'm just glad that you all are willing to be a part of, the Peace in the Morning Show special edition on emotional intelligence. So thank you for your sponsorship. And, you all have a big event coming up on June 10th.
Sure.
I need everybody to share it. I'm going to just send the website across so you can go to the web and check it out. Thank you so much, Dave. My man Derek Potts in the building. We appreciate you supporting Derek. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I just shouted you out. And also, we also want to just, make sure that you understand how to reach, this group. And, we're excited about what Competitive Edge is doing. So on June 10th, let me lay the lineup up for us because you got a serious night on June 10th. So I'm just going to say it's June 10th, 8 p.m., the Country Club at Woodmore. The event is tight. Take it away.
All right. Thanks, Darius. So on June 10th, we're going to have the jazz artist Marcus Johnson as the headline act. We're going to also have DJ. We're going to also have tables, so it'll be much like you going to the MGM, but in this case, what you're going to be doing is supporting student athletes in the community. So it's an opportunity for you to have a good time, to partake in some of Marcus Johnson's Flow Wine. We're going to have a wine tasting as well as a cigar bar. So you'll be able to, number one, enjoy the music. Number two, shake your leg a little bit. Number three, smoke a cigar if you choose to. Number four, be able to sip on a little wine. Number five, obviously, get a little funny money and gamble. And it's so beautiful is that you're not going to lose anything because obviously we're not the MGM. It's all about the student athlete.
Sure.
Hey, that sounds like a party to me. A party with a purpose for sure. Where else can you go for $125 to get internationally known jazz artists, a wine tasting, a cigar bar, a DJ with the dance floor, and then on top of it all, you're doing it at a first class country club in Woodmore Country Club, right off of 495. 295 is not that far. So, people are driving, spending thousands of dollars just to go hear Beyonce or Janet Jackson.
Sure.
So, you can hear one of our best, a local homegrown brother who does a whole lot for the community. But also, the brother was recognized in Forbes magazine as one of the top 10 black wines in the world.
Say that again.
Okay. Top 10 black wines in the world.
And on top of that, I forgot to mention, we're going to feed you a little bit.
125. Now you can't beat that. So, go, you see the on the bottom, Competitive Edge EQ website, go to that website so you can get all the information that you need, purchase the tickets, donate. We need you. So now let's talk about what is going on and why we're working to raise these funds. We're going to deal with a few different issues over the next 3 weeks, but tonight's issue that we're going to tackle is we want people to understand the value because hurt people.
Sure.
And love people. And the people that you see tonight's show are people that are loved. Now, that doesn't mean that we haven't been hurt, but we were fortunate enough to gain enough skills and tools. My grandmother taught me emotional intelligence as a little boy. My grandfather, had that real deep voice. And he asked, as soon as I come home, Tony, how come you take out the trash? You didn't make your bed up last night. And my grandmother said, Lamb, hold on a minute. Wait a minute, Lamb. Give the boy a chance to get in the house. You don't know if he got into a fight. He might have been chased by a dog. Might have got in trouble in school. She said, find out how he's doing first and then hold him accountable. Now, mind you, my grandmother didn't say, leave that boy alone, Lamb. He could be all right. He can do that later. She didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
She said, find out how he's doing first.
Right.
Check on your grandson and then hold him accountable.
Sure.
So tonight we're going to talk about emotional intelligence, and that was my lesson of it. Is that, would you consider that emotional intelligence, Lisa, though?
I think
You're a
that
certified coach, am I correct?
I am, and soon will be an international certified coach. And so I think in some respects, the description in terms of checking in on our kids, making sure that they're okay, making sure that they're emotionally well, is a part of that emotional intelligence piece. But surely it takes a little bit more work than just that. Now, parents have, my assumption is that your grandmother, if she was checking in to make sure that you were emotionally well in that moment, that there were tons of other lessons that were embedded in those experiences that you just described.
No
so
question.
Absolutely. I think that one thing that I want to do before we get into this whole concept or idea of emotional intelligence is to delineate between, we say emotional wellness or emotional health versus mental health, right? Because I think it's important. Emotional health is a component of mental health. But when we start thinking about mental health, I want to couch that. I am not the professional, the doctor in that space specifically, but I want to make sure that we make a distinction between the two. So when we're talking about the mental health, one, I want us to normalize it, right? So that we as a community, we as a collective are unafraid to just say what it is that we're experiencing in terms of our mental health, that we're unafraid to say, hey, I need help in this moment. I'm not okay. The whole idea around saying that it's okay to be, to not be okay is really important, right? And so mental health, we're talking about the cognitive functions. That's what I want to really drill in or drill down in this conversation. At this point in the conversation, we're talking about cognitive functions when we're talking about mental health, right? When we're talking about emotional health, we're talking about being heart smart. So let's think of it another way. Mental health is the hardware. Let's say if we consider a computer. So mental health is the outer part. It's the hardware of our being, the hardware. Emotional health is the software of our being. I think that's probably the easiest way to really describe mental health being the hardware, emotional health being the software. The challenge with the emotional health is that it's almost alike, and I'll stay with the same analogy around the computer sense. Emotional health doesn't show up or doesn't become a concern until like that malware kicks in, you get a virus on a computer, and now you can't access everything that you want to access. And so you start, tripping. You start going like, wait a minute, hold on, what's going on? Do I need an antivirus? Do I need, whatever, Avast or whatever? It's the same thing, right? So emotional, but what we try to do is say that emotional wellness, emotional health should also be a part of the conversation as we talk about mental wellness, emotional wellness, and so forth. How do we build our capacity to navigate our emotions in a way that allow us to receive the experience that we want, to receive the return that we want? Go ahead.
Let me jump in for a moment.
Sure.
Because I want people to be able to grasp it, because you took me down the technical road. And so I want to make sure that I'm able to grasp that.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about, did you talk about malware?
Malware, that nasty little thing that shows up on your computer that wants to take advantage of the computer.
Okay, and so the computer is the mental health?
The computer itself is the hardware.
Is the hardware. Okay.
That's the hardware.
So the malware is what?
So the computer is the hardware, right?
Okay.
That's your mental health.
That's your mental health. Okay,
that's
got
the body. That. That's everything that happens in your mental capacity.
Okay, got it.
Got that part?
Got that part.
The emotional wellness is the software of the hardware.
Okay, so that's the various things that come into the hardware that makes the hardware do other things.
There you go. Oh, you showing off.
Oh, well, I got a good coach. I got a good coach. I had to make sure you break it down for me, okay?
So that is your software. Emotional health, emotional wellness, your EQ is your software. When EQ becomes a challenge or our emotions become a challenge is where I talked about the malware. So the malware doesn't show up until it shows up. You don't know that it's coming. It just shows up. And then you're like, oh, Lord, what's happening? So I liken it to someone last week sent me a video of a little kid on a basketball court. One of the kids took the ball from him.
You mind if we call them children?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for the correction.
Thank
Actually,
you.
scholars, right?
Yes.
And so one of the scholars took the ball from the other, and the gentleman was upset. And so, as a result, he threw the ball in the other child's face. That emotion that was triggered as a result of him the one player taking the ball from the other player is what I deal with. How do we tap into that emotion in a way that allows for the child to perform differently, to respond differently? In crisis in particular, how do we build their capacity to feel their emotion, experience the emotion, but respond differently to the emotion?
So in another instance, that the reason why that's so important is because one of the things that happens statistically is when young people, and we experience this, about 16,000 annually, people die of homicide by gun violence, right? In our society nationwide. But what they say is that in 7 seconds, somebody gets upset, and that 7 seconds is the decision that they make to then pull the gun out and pull the trigger.
Sure.
That could be a road rage situation. That could be a disrespect, whatever people feel like somebody disrespected them. And then that split hair of like less than 10 seconds, they make that decision. Is that a poor use of or the lack of emotional intelligence?
Well, it is the lack of emotional intelligence, but I would also say that there could potentially be something else in play. So you can be emotionally, you can have a high emotional intelligence, but be mentally unwell. That's possible. But the beauty in having a high emotional intelligence is that you're able to navigate that space, the mental space, a little bit more. So our belief, specifically for student athletes, is that if we can build their emotional capacity, then they are allowed to be able to manage situations, some of the situations that you talked about, and I wouldn't say as grossly as handling a gun, but I'm talking about simple things like conflict. Someone stepped on my shoe, someone bumped me, I missed a shot, my coach is yelling at me, I didn't do well on my tests, that I didn't do as well as I thought I should do. The cell phone, my parents took the cell phone. Now our babies are so attached to cell phones that it is literally an emotional attachment to the cell phone. And so we have to build their capacity to understand that the cell phone is very simple. It is just a tool. But the truth is many of our kids are attached to it. So how do we build their capacity to detach from the cell phone? So the emotional part is being able to reason and make sound decisions, understanding how your emotions show up in your own body. The other part of it is building the capacity or building the child's vocabulary in order for them to be able to describe what they're feeling. So building that emotional vocabulary is incredibly important as well. Oftentimes we ask kids, what's wrong with you? What do they normally say? Anybody?
Nothing.
Nothing. That's what they normally say, nothing. But the truth is, it's a lot happening on the inside. Now, wouldn't it be extremely beautiful if our kids had the ability to articulate their emotions? They had the ability to say, hey, listen, this is what's happening to me at whatever particular time. They're able to do that. So if we start young building their emotional capacity, when they become older, they surely will have the toolkit in order to be able to navigate those more complicated spaces that they will venture into as an adult. When you become emotionally healthy or emotionally well, or you have the capacity to manage your emotions, you show up differently in the classroom, you show up differently on the playing field, you show up differently in relationships because your level of self-awareness when working with Competitive Edge is so impeccable that you don't have a choice but to be able to navigate those spaces differently. If our kids are able to navigate their emotions in a different way, then even in the classroom, let's take the classroom specifically. It's important that our kids are able to articulate and function from a position of power. They're able to advocate for themselves as they grow and mature through the system. 7th grade, we start with 7th grade. And so from 7th grade on, they're able to advocate for themselves in the way that they understand how they learn, they understand what they need, and they understand how to solicit or ask the teacher for the support that's necessary. We haven't gone into that part of our programming, but that's why emotional intelligence is important, specifically because it allows our young children, young babies to show up differently. It allows them to blossom into adults who are able to manage their emotions so that we don't have a situation like you described in terms of handling firearms and so forth. I'll pause right there.
Well, I'm gonna definitely jump and bring Lydia and Tisha back to the conversation. So go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna kind of expound on what you said. What's in terms of what we do and how it shows up is that quite often in not being able to control your emotions, it impacts not only the young player, how parents show up. Them not being able to control their emotions, and it spills over to parents in the stands arguing, and now you don't have control of your emotions. Your young player doesn't have control of their emotions. Now you have parents screaming at referees, you have young players grabbing refs, everybody's disrespectful. It's a direct result of not being able to control your emotions. And the beauty of what we do and how we do it, it allows young people to be able to model and mentor their parents, because sometimes the young person may be able to mentor the parent to pull them back and to reel them in, because they are losing their emotions, because we're teaching the young person how to control their emotion. And when the parent sees the young player controlling their emotion, then they come back in.
Which is a good transition to Darius, to Tish, because some of the work that we did with her program, Tish, tell me the name of the team again. Lord have mercy, I don't know.
It's Team UBC, which is for United Basketball Club of Maryland.
So UBC. So the work that we did with UBC was 3-part. The first part was with the basketball team, the ladies. The second part was with the coaches. And then the third part was with the parents. And so an arm of our programming allows us to touch every part of the family nucleus. And I'm going to stop there and let you and Tish pick up from there.
So I want to start off by first saying that my daughter actually plays on this team that me and her stepdad actually coaches. But before I took the position, when I was asked, I had to sit down and have a talk with her, because the mental part of it was that I did not want her to feel a certain way, because her mother was now becoming someone in another arena, was going to have to take authoritative position and telling her what to do, how to do it, follow these steps, follow those steps. So the only thing she required of me was, once the game was over, to not discuss the game with my husband in front of her, whether they won or whether they lost. So we on travel, we go to another area, and
so she was that astute that she told you, this is why you got to let your children. You opened the door for her, right? You engaged her, and you asked her opinion and made a safe space. You know, we got to remember, just because we're parents doesn't mean that our children are not supposed to talk to us.
Right.
Because it's when they don't talk to us that make them go talk to somebody else that may not give them the right idea. But how old is your daughter?
14.
And when you broached that, and that was her response, was, "Mom, you know, that just shows you that her emotional intelligence is way high. Just don't talk about it in front of me. I can handle it, but when the game is over, you do that on your own." I apologize. Good. I just wanted to make sure.
No, because that's because we was already doing it as parents. I was already doing it. I was a teen mom last year. So we would come back to the room and just be yakking. But then it irritates her, because we're saying what everybody did bad because it wasn't a winning season. So of course we're pinpoint, they should have went here. Maya, why didn't you? So when she was going through that phase of it, and then when I became a coach, she realized, hey, it's my opportunity. She asking me, so I'm gonna take advantage of it. I just don't want y'all discussing the game around me once it's over.
So
Because
Tish,
she
real
didn't
quick.
know what atmosphere she was getting ready to walk into, a winning season or a losing season. And right now they're in a winning season.
Tish, so real quick before you go any further, one of the words that you said that resonated with me so well that I literally had to write down is that the one thing that my daughter required of me. And so when you speak like that, language like that automatically puts you in a transformational coaching space, because you were open enough to hear what your daughter wanted from you. Sometimes it's one way in which parents are telling, and the kid is supposed to be quiet and listen. But the one thing you said was what she required of me. So to some degree, you moved from being the parent and she moved to being the facilitator. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because when we're able to allow our kids to facilitate in some spaces, only if they're mature enough to do, let me qualify that, then we're able to hear how we can best support them. So I'm gonna pause right there.
So I want to say that about her, and now we're going to move into the next arena, which is when the head coach Omar wanted to do a retreat, overnight stay at a hotel, and have Competitive Edge to come in and let Lisa and Lenny do what they do. It was called, was it Lego construction? I guess, and to sum it up, it was like little Legos. And on the Legos, it had all the things that may go through a student athlete's mind. Like, I don't get a chance by being an AAU player. I don't get a chance to hang with my friends. I'm only doing this because my parents want me to do it. My parents are making me live their past dreams. So they had all these things that suited each one of the girls' possible thoughts. So all the parents, to include myself, had to step out the room, and they connected these large Legos individually. Then what Lisa and Lenny did was brought it all together. And I promise you, Darius, the wall was about this high.
Stop right there. Stop right there. Wait, but hold on. Stop right there. Y'all, you can't be giving everybody all my stuff now. Y'all giving all my stuff, right? So let's just say the mental blocker. Now you have people looking like, how am I supposed to build this, right?
But Darius, it ended up being, and this is the thing, 11 girls, a wall 3 feet high, 6 feet long.
Okay, pause right there. Let her finish without giving up all my
With
FBI.
that
Come on, give it up the sauce. This Monday night.
Don't give up all the
this is
sauce
most-
right now.
This is
All the
most
secret
sauce
sauce.
on Monday night. We giving up all the sauce right now. Keep on, go with the flow.
With that description that Lenny just gave, the next day, so everything was done. Say they came on that Saturday, they did everything on Saturday. Their parents came in on Sunday. So this is the other phase to it. The parents was able to just walk in and see this wall. When they see the wall, they know the kids chose these blocks, but they didn't know whose child chose what. So to walk in and they was just reading them. And you should have seen the heads that shook, the tears that flowed, because the kids had a chance to express something that obviously the parents have not heard when it comes to them being an athlete and a student as their child. I sat there and I saw one that I thought mine would have put, because I didn't have a chance to see it either. I thought mine's put, and when I just broke down in tears. I mean, I cried and I cried and I cried. Not knowing if it was from her or not, but somebody's kid chose this particular block. And it made me feel so emotional. And not just me, the other two coaches, we all just stood in awe. As though, wow, these kids' mental is finally being addressed right here. And I can only put that puzzle together because once the parents came in and the way they looked at it and the way they cried, and some of them shook their head. One parent got mad. I know my daughter didn't do this. It was a bunch of reactions. But again, competitive edge with the works of Lisa and Lenny brought out of these kids what needed to be brought out.
So but what she described is that emotional piece that we're talking about building, right? Building their capacity to be able to, and Darius, I'm gonna back up a little bit because you said something that's extremely important. We have to give our young people a safe place to be able to communicate what they're feeling, absent judgment, right? We have to be able to create that for them. And what that weekend encompassed was an opportunity for them to, in a safe place, communicate what they feel and then address their emotions at a deeper level. And so that's at a deeper scope, that's the work of emotional intelligence, to the degree that we allow young people to have an increased level of awareness of their emotions. But in order to be able to cultivate that kind of experience, you have to also create a safe space for them to do so. And so Tisha's very right in that the wall was probably 3 feet tall, 6 feet long, or whatever. And what showed up was these are the emotions that our young people are carrying every single day. And so when they show up to practice, the emotions are there. When they show up to class or school, their emotions are there. When they return home, their emotions are there. What emotion? Well, who knows? But if you create the safe space for them to start to build their emotional capacity, then it allows for them to be healthier.
And another tool to it is Darius, is that this exercise allows the coaches to begin to understand the players in a way that they didn't, because we're all human and we can have preconceived notions. And one of the things that we experienced is what the coaches said about one kid, what they thought, it showed up differently. They were able to use this tool as a way to communicate more effectively with their players. which if you as a coach are able to communicate more effectively and tap into the emotions because you understand the players' emotions and how they function, it puts you and the team in a better place.
Sure.
Well, there's so many things here, and just while I have an opportunity, please, you see the website at the bottom. What you just heard Coach Potts talk about, what Competitive Edge did. They brought the entire family together. They brought the entire community together and educated them. They, the great thing about about emotional intelligence is it teaches you to become self-aware. And a lot of people are unable to step outside of themselves and see their behaviors for what it really is, whether it's denial, whether it's ego, whether it's fear, whatever it is, being self-absorbed. And the fact that they were able to come into this environment so that the players could feel safe enough to talk about something that they knew their parents were going to see. It's huge.
Sure.
Secondly, the parents were able to come in and be vulnerable enough to be exposed to what it is that they might see from their children. Because people say they want their children to do well and they want to know, but do they really want to know, or they want to just keep acting like everything's okay? Because that's going to expose part of what's going on in my world. What am I doing or not doing as a parent? And then you got the coaches. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
But what I was going to say to everyone in that regard, Tish spoke about the gentleman that was upset. And I don't know that everyone, I think he was new to seeing me, so he didn't know that I was the facilitator in that moment. I was standing beside him as he communicated his anger. And immediately I started praying, right? Because I think it's important for parents to, one, not take the information that you're receiving as an indictment on your parenting style. That's critical, right? And so it was important for me to have the frame of mind, but also be able to articulate to them and create the safe space. So as much as we need to create a safe space for kids, we also need to children. We also need to create a safe space for parents, because it's not necessary. It's not an indictment on your parenting style. It is information that you use in order to produce and assist and nurture the best human being that you want to create, right? You want the whole goal of parenting is to establish or develop a young person so that they're able to be self-sufficient, so that they're able to go out into the world and do what it is that they want to do in terms of whatever that is, right? But you have to create the safe space for parents in a way that allows them not to feel like they're being blamed or they did it wrong. This is a journey. Being a parent is a journey. And if it came with a book, some directions or something, we all would have it locked down. And that's not the case. And so we have to create these safe spaces for parents, coaches, as well as our students. Students are obviously, that's a no-brainer. But when you think about coaches, most coaches have an ego. They got to be right. What they say is the right way. And this is what I love about the dynamic trio, Tish, Omar, and Derek, is that they have a mindset, a growth mindset. And when you have a growth mindset, it doesn't matter. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to function as a coach. I'm willing to function as a student. It doesn't matter. But we have to create the safe space for parents. We have to create the safe space for coaches to actually think through and have a level of awareness that allows them to process their coaching style. We have to create a safe space for parents to think about their coaching and parenting style without feeling indicted.
So let me put this commercial out there real quick, because you all are hearing all of this, powerful information. about the importance of creating safe spaces for your children. And in order for Competitive Edge EQ, who is only in its second year as a nonprofit, they have an event coming up, and I want people to know about it. I want to share it. So this is a quick commercial for the Competitive Edge EQ. Join us for Monte Carlo Casino Night, 8 p.m. on Saturday, June 10th at the Country Club of Woodmore. Live music with international jazz artist Marcus Johnson with his top 10 ranked flow wine tasting, a cigar bar, DJ and DANC should be dance. That's what it is. We're gonna get it off there now. But that's what we want y'all to do. Come on out and dance, and support people that are supporting people. Do you know how important it is for parents to learn how to be vulnerable so that their children can feel safe enough? Not do what I say, but do what I'm doing. I'm modeling for you that I'm not perfect and I need to make some changes, and so do you. That kind of tension, that kind of sharing is what is going to save our children's lives versus being surprised and afraid to hear what's going on. So please, the website is at the bottom. Donate if you can't make it there, but if you can, you're going to have people like, former Georgetown Hoyt, former Maryland NBA players, a few pro boxers. You're going to have a mix of sports legends in the building on this night, and we need you to be there. So, Lenny, I apologize for interrupting, but I wanted to make sure that I put that commercial out there so we can fill the house that night at the Country Club of Woodmore.
Absolutely. But like Lisa was saying, and one of the big things that we want people to understand as we talk about sport, and the DMV is very pressure packed because we represent some of the most successful athletes in the country come out of the DMV. It's the number one recruiting area for football, basketball, lacrosse. More D1 students come out of this area than anywhere else in the country. So what happens is there's this innate pressure that both the parent and the student is thinking, we can become the next. What we want parents and student athletes to understand that you want to make sure that your experience is transformational and that you understand no matter who you are, just like today, Carmelo Anthony retired, no matter how great you are, it comes to an end. What's your plan B? And we want to give you the tools using emotional intelligence as an engine to drive how you function moving forward and become successful for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Well, I love that plan B. So as we shift gears,
you see it? You see it over my shoulder?
I see it. I see you working it. This is just called tag team back again. Right. Okay. So listen, just talk about plan B, because when we talk about student athletes, and this is one of the reasons why you need to understand who Competitive Edge is, and what Competitive Edge EQ is doing, and why it's so significant, and why we need to have it not only in Coach Potts teams, but all of the AAU teams: basketball, football, baseball, lacrosse, you name it, chess club, whatever your children, the dance group that you have your children in, because we need people to understand the value of allowing children to just be children, to enjoy themselves, but also to know that they have a voice. And then outside of my love and passion for sports, how am I going to turn that love and passion for sports into a business or a career that's going to allow me to take care of myself and my family and live a happily fulfilled life, because my passion is tied to that. That's what they've done with the plan B. So Lenny, talk to us about the plan B and the significance of plan B. You just talked about Carmelo. Was Carmelo ever a Laker?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought.
I knew that was going to come sometime.
I'm not mad.
The game.
Just so the public can understand, when we talk Lakers, most people talk the Bulls, and we just kind of digress just for a hot second.
The first
first 54 years that the Lakers were in existence, they were in the playoffs 50 of the 54 years. No other professional sports team in the world has that kind of track record. So when we talk Lakers, we're talking something different. And what Competitive Edge is trying to do is become the number one place you go to help develop student athletes from an emotional intelligence perspective. Now, Plan B. The plan
Go ahead, Lenny.
You see?
So, hey, tell them about the plan B, brother.
What happens when, as John Thompson would say, the air comes out the ball.
That's right.
No matter who you are, no matter how great you are, the air's coming out. It's going to end. How you prepare yourself makes all the difference in the world. Now, here's a hint to parents. Number one, of your Fortune 500 companies, most of those CEOs at one point in time were student athletes. Many of them played sports at some of the highest levels, and they were able to transition. We want to make sure, and we want to give our young people the opportunity to make that transition. That's what Competitive Edge Plan B is about. Giving young people the tools necessary from an academic standpoint of view, from an emotional standpoint of view, to make a successful transition once your playing career is over. Because no matter who you are, it's coming to an end.
True. And unfortunately, I think for many, and I shouldn't say many, for some, the end comes abruptly. Mm-hmm. For some, unfortunately, whether we all know that you're only a game away from an injury. And so every time you go on the floor, there's a risk. It is not acceptable for us to wait until the last minute or until the end to say, okay, now what do I do? Mm-hmm. When we have young people we can start cultivating and creating that plan B all along the way. We don't say don't play sport. Sport is beautiful. We all played it, right? But what if we're able to expand the conversation in a way that allow young people to really think about what they want to do outside of sport? Unfortunately, sport becomes the identity. That becomes young folks' identity. That's all they do from 3rd grade all the way through 12th grade and then on to college. College ends. I think Tish and I can both attest to this. You get to that last game and you cry like a baby because you know this is it, right? And then you wake up the next day and you say, well, what am I supposed to do now? The truth is, we have to nurture every aspect of our young people, our children. We have to nurture every aspect, the athletic self, the spiritual self, the personal self. We have to nurture every part of it, right? And so we often ask the question, who am I? You have to explore that question periodically because who you are changes over time. But to say I'm an athlete is not enough. I am a student who happens to be an athlete. We use the term student athlete very loosely. And then we look into the programming where people say, well, yeah, we nurture student athletes. Well, if you nurture student athletes, then your program should be indicative of nurturing the student athlete. But if you're spending 70 hours, 40 hours a week at the college level and spending 10 to 12 hours a week at the AAU level or the high school level, we really need to think about how we're utilizing our time and what we are nurturing. We're nurturing more than just athletes. We're nurturing incredible kids who have the capacity to be anything they want to be. One thing, and I'm not going to make this political, but one thing that Obama taught us and one thing that Trump taught us is that you can be anything you want to be. If you have a desire to be a president, you can be. If you have a desire to be, never mind. Let me just stop right there. I'm not going to politicize this.
Well, since you already did,
I did, right? Let's reel it back in.
Let's reel that back in. Let's reel that back in. Let me just say another piece is that when we talk about Plan B, we need to stop always focusing on the professional athlete.
Yeah.
Sports is its own ecosystem. Every job outside of sport is inside of sport. So you may not be the professional athlete, but you can be the coach, the trainer, the financier, the security person, the facilities person, the data analytics person. It's so many different, the lawyer, the doctor. It's so many other things that you can do and still be involved in the sport. So we need to not have young people look at it from the perspective of it's all or nothing, because it's not. It's not all or nothing. You can be involved in the sport you love. You just may not be the pro athlete. You may not be the 1%. Well, there's 99% of other things you can do involving the sport and be around the sport, just not the one that's the professional athlete. That time is most of the times a short period of time. The coach, like most coaches, coach 20 years. The broadcast announcer, 20, 30 years. The accountant, so on and so forth. Your time as an athlete is usually anywhere between 2 and 5 years. So you still have to come up with a plan B. We just want to start talking about the plan B early.
Well, Lenny gave us another tip, and thank you, Coach, for that, because tip number 1 was prepare your children for life after sports. Tip number 2 was teach your children to look at all of the careers that are available to sports to keep passion tied to their career. Because people want to go do stuff that they enjoy. A lot of people have their children focus so much on the money. And in our society, excuse me, we have this ridiculous notion that we should be running after the bag. You got all these memes, chasing the bag, running the bag down. Well, we really should be chasing our mental, physical, and spiritual health, our financial health. But it does not start with chasing the bag. It starts with chasing your passion. And actually, you don't have to chase your passion. All you have to do is be. But we have our children looking at all these other things, the material things, the cars, the houses, the stuff on social media, the trips and all of that, when we're just not teaching them the very basics. And what you all are saying is, look, that same passion that gets you up at 5 a.m. to go run, that same passion that gets you work late at night when your coach say, we got to stay in this gym and get it right before we leave. The same things that'll make you study and stay up all night because you want to get those grades to make sure you're still able to play on that team is the same things that's going to help you feed your family. When you don't feel like getting up and going to work, it's that passion because you're still tied to something that you love and something you enjoy that you would do for free. Mm-hmm. And that's what we want to be able to stop teaching your children to run after a whole bunch of money and be miserable. Stop teaching to go after deal with people and be in relationships that they don't need to be in just because somebody can give them something. Teach them how to go out and get the skills, as my brother Jeremy Newcake says, to pay the bills. We got about 60 seconds left before we get up out of here. So I want to give one more tip. We got tip number 2. Can I get one more tip and then tip number 3? And after we get that third tip, actually we got it already, I see it in the chat, is to create a safe space. Tell them again, Lisa, why it's important. No, actually, Coach Potts, because we're going to let Lisa wrap it up. Coach Potts, tell us why it's important. Again, you all allowed those and how you had the vision as an organizer and a coach of your team to bring competitive edge EQ, and how much did that impact your children and your team's overall success?
It prepared the kids. One, it taught them how to among other things, was actually implemented in the program over that weekend as well. And another feature was baby pictures of the kids was posted around the room, and they had to go, each player had to come into the room separately and post what they thought of that particular kid. First, they had to guess who it was because of the age of the picture. So when they came into the room, so to have all the players to come back in the room at one time and see what their teammates thought of them, that was a eye opener for them, because a lot of people, I can speak for mine, it was leadership. They call her like the mother of the group because of her intelligence or the way she acts amongst them. So just for them to come together and see what each person thought of them probably built a confidence in them that they didn't even know they had. Because now they don't talk as a group and say, oh, this is what you do for me, this is how I look at you. It took them to walk into that room, go to their picture, and see what their teammates thought of you. And to me, that was a powerful moment. And then again, when the parents came in and was able to see the same words that each child put in regards to their daughter, it opened their eyes again to another aspect. One kid was so quiet, we literally had to break her out. And at that time of that meeting, people put her as a jokester. Mom looking at it like, huh? This is what you are transforming in my daughter. Yes, this is what we're transforming. So again, Competitive Edge creates these safe places for your kids, not just your kids, for their parents. And once you create them separately, and when they come back together, which happened at the end, everything brought together, placed in a circle, and you spoke to each other. The child spoke to the parent spoke to the child, and ultimately the results was, now that you've heard me and now that I've heard you, let's move forward. And that's what the safe place creates.
So
Wow.
Real quick, because Tish just opened it, I know we're wrapping it up, but
Yeah, we are definitely wrapping it up.
One thing, right? And that is the idea, we believe in edification. So when you're edifying, you see kids' shoulders rise up. You see their head rise up. You see them stand up a little bit taller, right? Edification is so important. Letting your child know how amazing they are. We don't have time to waste. We have to build our young people's ability and edify them to the point where nobody else have to tell them who they are, because they know who they are and whose they are. And I'm going to stop right there in that space. The other thing that I wanted to add is that we practice reframing, right? So you said something about social media and so forth, and money and so forth. But a part of the process, or part of our technique, is learning how to reframe your thoughts into a space that works to your benefit. So instead of thinking about saying, hey, look, listen, don't do social media, let's think about the impact of social media. Let's look at ourselves as a brand and then build out our brands accordingly, right? And so if you remember, this is the last thing I'm gonna say. We all came from a time where there was one phone line. And then in that one phone line, if we were on the phone too long, the operator broke the line and said a call was trying to come through. We were all on this.
Wait a minute, you sound like you screaming on some people who used to do that emergency brake light.
Because I got in trouble for it. So look, I'm traumatized by that, right? I'm traumatized by it because I got in trouble. But we had a time where there was one phone line. Then we had a time where there was two lines, and then we had a time where there were three, and then we had the party line. And I know everybody got in trouble with the party line, calling that 1-800 number, talking to everybody on the phone. We all did that. We come from a time where the TV went off at 12 o'clock, the snow and the little bars, the color bars came up. So it's called evolution, right? And so now our kids, they slowly society has slowly brought our kids to this point. We come from a time where some of us, like Darius, was walking around with the phone on his shoulder when the cell phones first came out.
I wasn't that kind of a baller. I had a pager.
We come from a time where folks had pages. Why do you have a pager?
Okay? I ain't have a car till I was 19. Used to catch rides.
Look, why we have pagers? We come from a time where we were writing hello, 7 something 3 whatever. We come from that time, and nobody told us no, not to do it. Now it's kind of navigated its way to the social media space, and I'm telling my age, Melody, and we cannot put the genie back in the bottle. But what we can do is build our kids' capacity, our children's capacity emotionally to handle what they're seeing, to know when I need to fold. I don't need this in my life right now. They're so aware of their emotions that they don't put themselves in position to feel a certain way because they know that it's a trigger. So we have to learn what Competitive Edge do is help young people reframe what they're experiencing to their benefit. And I'm gonna pause right there because we got 2 more Mondays to go, and I'm so pumped. Oh, and listen, hold on, because I said I was gonna stop. But here's another thing: if you are a former student athlete and you got bad knees, bad ankles, or bad back, because we all have it, you need to be at Monte Carlo night, right? If you have a student athlete that you're supporting now, be at Monte Carlo night. If you believe that emotional intelligence and mental wellness is important for young people, you need to be at Monte Carlo night. Support us. We need your help. We cannot do this work without the support of the community. So come out and make sure that you get your ticket, click the link, get your ticket, hit events. You'll see where you can purchase a ticket tonight. And we look forward to seeing you. We can't do this work without the help of the community. Bring bad knees, bad back, everything. Bring it.
Bring it.
Stories. We want to hear all the former athletes' stories and how they plan to bring their young people, may I say, their next generation of student athletes to the next level.
And guess what?
Laugh about it, enjoy the time, cigars, food, and everything at Monte Carlo night. Fellowship.
That's right.
Hey, y'all, you see why this is important? Emotional Intelligence Mondays here on the Peace of the Morning Show with Competitive Edge EQ. Coach Potts, Coach Leonard, and Coach Lisa Leonard, also the executive director. Listen, it's all been said. Join us next Monday night, 8 p.m. Enjoy the Lakers game tonight because we are going to win. I had to put that out there just in case, That's right, I said it. That's right, I said it. And I saw Lisa choke up a little bit, but I said it. That's right.
Look, Darius, don't worry about it. See, the plan B was this. You have the general manager of the Lakers who was a former player who's now the general manager. So that is a plan B.
That's true.
You see that?
So you see the
manipulation. The greatness. Did you hear that stat Lenny gave him? I don't want to do it again because it'll be taking us into the, but Lenny gave us phenomenal stat that no other professional organization can touch. And if we were going to win a ring, which unless the Heavyset brother sings, we would win tonight, but not tonight, but we would get a ring. They were going to still give rings to players who are no longer on the team but contributed at some point in the season. That's called class. That's probably emotional intelligence at its best at a professional sports level. And on that note, this is Darius A. Stanton. Thank you all so much for joining us. Make sure you share this show, push it out there, let people know you see the Competitive Edge EQ. If you can't make it on that night and be with the ballers balling, the shot calling, and the like that. If you can't be there, then make a donation because we need you. And you see the good work that these people are doing and how important it is to get it in front of our family. So on that note, I'm going to let y'all roll out to the Queen Aya Sudabase's Blow By. And we're going to jam and see you next Monday night on Emotional Intelligence Monday here on the Peace. Peace.